Stephanie Craybill, and I am the chair of the Family Communications Committee for New Hanover County School Board. Thank you for joining us tonight for this valuable conversation time. We are going to, on topic tonight, we're going to kind of follow the same outline that we've been following for the past couple months, where we're focusing on a topic and basically just to make sure that you, our parents in the community, have the resources you need in different communication styles that you need. And so this month we are going to focus on our district website, and a little bit on our school websites, and give you some pointers and tips on how to navigate and where to go if you still have questions about that. And we're also going to talk about our program, our mass communication program, School Messenger. And so I think that you will be really happy to hear some of the things that we're doing. We're going to just be able to let them present, and we always have the chat. Put your comments in the chat, and we will get to every question. We have, well, as time allows. It says our meeting was going to be from 5 until 7, but it's really only going to be from 5 until 6:30, our normal meeting time. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Naomi, who is going to see if we have any Spanish-speaking people that might need her services.
Hola, buenas tardes. Me llamo la señora Naomi Méndez y estoy aquí, ¿verdad? Representando, ¿verdad? Los padres que asisten, ¿verdad? A los padres que hablan español. En esta noche, ¿verdad? Ella estaba diciendo, la señora Stephanie Craybill estaba mencionando de que ellos quieren llevar diferentes temas a los padres, ¿verdad? Con los diferentes recursos que hay, ¿verdad? Para la comunidad, para que ustedes sepan cómo tienen que navegar y cómo tienen que buscar, ¿verdad? En el distrito para poderlos ayudar, ¿verdad? Va a ser uno de los temas de esta noche. Y también van a estar hablando sobre los mensajeros que se usan para llevar la comunicación a través de la escuela con los padres. Y ella mencionó también de que esta reunión va a durar de 5 a 6:30 de la tarde, como siempre, no de 5 a 7 de la noche. ¿Ok?
Gracias, Naomi.
Okay, you're welcome.
So with that, I'd like to turn it over to our Chief Communications Officer, Josh Smith.
Thank you, Ms. Craybill. Appreciate it. And then Ms. Naomi, just to confirm, do we have Spanish speakers where you're going to need to translate everything? If so,
don't really. I'm seeing people, but I don't see all the names. I'm only seeing 3. I don't see anybody else. In my screen, I'm not seeing everybody, so I really don't know. ¿Tenemos a alguien que habla español? Hola, buenas noches. Do we have anybody that speaks Spanish? ¿Alguien que hable español? Dentro de las personas que están aquí. Because I'm seeing just 3. I'm not seeing anybody else. I don't know if you're seeing somebody else. Are you seeing anybody else?
No,
I am not seeing anyone, but just put it out there that if anyone does need Spanish translation, please put it in the chat or feel free to let us know, and then we will make sure all of our information gets translated.
Okay, sí, ella está mencionando que si hay alguna persona que hable español, por favor, ¿verdad? Que se comunique a través de lo que llaman el chat, ¿verdad? De la parte de abajo donde pueden escribir y mandar el mensaje dejándonos saber que necesitan la traducción, ¿ok? No se queden callados, déjennos saber que están ahí para poderlas asistir, ¿ok?
Thank you, Naomi. Appreciate that.
You are so welcome. Thank you so much.
I'll take the opportunity to tee it up for Miss Anita Baggy first. So we've been absent a webmaster for quite some time in the district, and so we're really excited to have her come in, assume the role. She's going to do some screen sharing, show you where we're going with the website, kind of what the vision is for the branding strategy. And in terms of getting the website, it's very usable. So I won't steal her thunder there. And then we'll move to Mr. Clark talking through some of our school messenger technical aspects. So like Ms. Craybill said, a bit of a technical evening this evening, but we want to take the opportunity to solicit feedback. I want you to hear from my team what we're doing in these regards, and then hear from you how we can further optimize that from a community perspective. So with that, I'll turn it over to Anita to talk websites. Go ahead, Anita.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. I appreciate it. Good evening, everyone. My name is Anita Baggy, and let me preface everything by saying My first role in life is mom. So I come to you from an aspect of everything I'm looking at typically is how do I get information as a parent? So my background, parent, helicopter mom, made a career out of it. I worked in after school in an elementary school. I was a substitute, a school tech, including website and broadcast with the kids, loads of fun. And went on to be a district tech, and now I'm in charge of the district website. So all of these roles have played a part in what I was looking at and how to address the website. So if, let's see, I am going to do some screen sharing here. And I want to bring up our website, okay? So the first thing I wanted to do is I wanted to make a little walkthrough with everyone. So the district website is for information related to everyone district-wide, and we want to make it extremely accessible. One of the things that we also want to do is we want to show you the human element that is around everything that we do. Everything we do is about our kids in the school, celebrating them, looking after our teachers, all of our staff. So we want to promote that. So when you first get to the website, the first thing you're going to see is our slideshow. Lots of great things going on here. One of my favorites. So we have some great people in the communications department that are putting together things like Inside NHCS, which is a fantastic newsletter. It's digital in its format, so it's really unique, and it showcases a lot of our employees and the great things that they do. So you can find that right here. Moving on along, this right here, NHCS Recap is another fantastic thing that our department is putting out. And this will recap everything from Board of Education meetings to anything that you may see up here. For Veterans Day, we actually showcase quite a few of our staff that are veterans here in New Hanover County Schools. So not only did these people go out and serve their country, they now serve their community by being here and helping to educate our students, keeping things running. There's just a plethora of events that these people do and help out with. So lots of fantastic people. District news, this is where you're going to find information that is, it's like breaking news. This is what's getting ready to happen. This is, we're releasing this information, come out, join us, that type of stuff. Upcoming events, this is basically our calendar. And if you're looking and you just want to click on more events, it'll take you to our full calendar and show you everything. And you can just click on to the next month and see what's going on, okay? Moving right along, we have a lovely at a glance, and this information is also going to be updated. I forgot to mention also, I've been in this role for a month now, so I'm getting there. This information, fantastic aspects that we're also showcasing, and then of course our social media. One of the great things, another of our great things that we do is we post stories on our various social media. We keep things updated. We've got athletics, we've got, Dia de los Muertos, so many things that are going on. So first of all, we'll start with our basic, okay, about us. Everybody understands what that is. Board of Education, anything that you need to know about them. Schools, this is how you can get directly to your schools. One of the things to keep in mind, we've had some transition over the last few years, and especially since before I was here, the previous webmaster was able to help the schools. So now that I'm here, I am going to be training the new staff to help them update their websites at the school level. And of course, you have our divisions that are in our district. These are all of the major departments, and then there's sub-departments under those. One thing I really wanted to point out about the divisions, let's say you're looking for something specific and you don't know which department it falls under. If you just click on divisions, it actually gives you a directory with a lot of information. And one of the things that I love, so like McKinney-Vento right there. So our goal is a 2 to 3 click matrix. We are trying to accomplish you get where you need to go in 2 or 3 clicks. Okay, so you've gotten on the website, you hovered, you clicked, you got here, and now you're on to your next, whatever you're looking for. Okay, we've got Title IX, online learning, federal programs. Some of the other ones that I find interesting that are hard to find, so grant information, special education services. Those are typically difficult to find when you're having to navigate through all of our information. We are still looking to find other ways to shorten your steps. So we'll keep looking and keep trying to update and all of that. Students and families, again, there's information here that's pertinent to you, to our parents. The other aspect is, and I mentioned this before, I was a substitute teacher. I did after school. So as the helicopter mom, I thought I'd join my kids at school. So I did that by coming here and finding a job. And some 11 years later, here I am. But this is a great way to see what's going on in the district. If there's, part-time work or something like that, real thing I want to point out about that, a lot of the people that work in our schools in our district are just like me. They're helicopter parents, and they wanted to be involved with their kids, and they wanted to be in the district. And so, not only do you have amazing teachers and amazing staff, but you've got all of those people, the support staff and stuff, that want to be there because they love kids. You've got your extra coaches and all of this stuff, just fantastic people. Can't say enough great things about them. So moving on, community information here. I wanted to showcase this right here, our volunteer program portal, kind of a one-stop shop for everything that you're looking for. So, if you don't have time for a full-time job, you have time, maybe a little bit, you want to volunteer in your school. You want to help out, do something, here's where you would get started with all of that. Okay, back to school, we keep this up here. It's a bit of a requirement for us. And there's quite a few of those requirements that I will address shortly. Literacy is also very important. This is something that we are striving to achieve. We want our kids at grade level reading because it sets the basis for everything that these kids do beyond that. So one of the things I did want to show you guys. So down here at the bottom, you'll see that we have accessibility, we have disclaimer, translation disclaimer, non-discrimination, and Title IX. So under accessibility, and I just wanted to show you this briefly because this is what we base our web design on. So we are trying with every ounce of our being to be ADA compliant. Okay, so we follow these guidelines right here. That being said, these guidelines can be very general in some of their areas. So we err on the side of caution, and we try to make sure that we are doing everything above and beyond to make sure that everyone can access our information. Okay. To that end, you'll see our little person here. This will allow you to access various ways to access the information on the website. It'll read to you, help desk. So trying to make sure that we're equitable and inclusive for all of our people. Included in that, if you see up here where I'm pointing, translate, we can translate, or this website can be translated into basically any language, okay? And I'll just show you very quickly what that looks like because I like to play. Let's see, let's go with Russian. Let's see how that looks. Okay, so there you go, Russian. I can't speak it, I can't or read it, so I'm hoping that it's correct.
I can. It looks pretty good.
Excellent. Okay. All right, now let me put this back in English before I get in trouble. Okay, there we go. Perfect. So moving on. Okay, up here, this platform, this is specific to the district, just like this is specific to the district. So the quick links that you're finding here are specific to the overall district, okay? And we want to make sure that everyone understands that. All right. So again, I talked about 2 to 3 clicks, ADA compliance. getting people to update information. So one of the other things that we're working on, each of these divisions, they have numerous departments and so on and so forth underneath them, and they all have web pages, okay? And I'll show you. So all of these areas have different web pages and sub pages. And so there's various people who assist in updating this information. So one of the things that I'm in charge of is I need to make sure to train all of these people on how to update this information and make sure it's ADA compliant. Okay. And I'm going to move on from that. The other thing that we have just recently done, we have a staff portal for our staff. And we've been doing some background stuff on that, but I just wanted to give everyone just a brief look at this and how we're trying to assist our staff. So inside NHCS, again, we're trying to promote the people that are making a difference every day in the district, okay? We've got the NHCS Recap, board highlights, what's going on, and then of course, quick links to for all of our staff, okay? And then this. So one of the things that we want to do is we want to make everything easy to find. So many new staff, so many, everything's new. Education is constantly changing, information's constantly changing. A website is there to be that portal between the human aspect of the schools and the district and the people that we serve. So again, just trying to make sure that we connect with you guys on every aspect as much as possible. That being said, the website, it won't be a basis for emergency information at split-second level. Our social media will do that, quickly followed up by our website, because we can reach more people at a faster pace with our social media, which, as everyone knows, is everyone's always on a phone. All right.
Anita, really quick here before you go on, it looks like we have a question in Spanish in the chat here. I just want to make sure that they are able to understand as we continue on through the meeting here.
Okay.
Naomi, if you could, can you see the chat?
That's actually Naomi asking if there's anyone else.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's Andrea. Yeah, it's us.
Okay.
Yeah, I just asked that if there was anybody that spoke Spanish to please let me know to help them out, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for that. We appreciate that.
Okay.
And I do have a question before you move on, Anita. This has been real helpful so far. And there is another question in the chat that we need to get to, but the what would you suggest a person do if they are in their 1, 2, 3 clicks and they get to the spot that they want and it says something like under construction, information not available right now? What would you suggest that they do?
I would suggest that they reach out to me. My name is Anita Baggy, sounds and spelled exactly the same way, at nhcs.net, so that I can assist the person within that department or school to get that information updated. And I was when I go into the schools, I actually want to explain how some of that works as well, because the schools are similar to our departments, but they're a little bit more on their own because they're unique. Elementary, middle, and high school are all very different from the district, even though we're all very much the same. Because as a parent, again, in elementary school, when I went to the website, I was looking for the lunch menu. I was looking for the teacher's information. I wanted to know about the events. When I go to the district site, I'm looking more for the people that can assist me with a specific problem or a specific question that I have. So, in that regard, I want to make sure that we understand that there is a difference, even though we're all together in one big district. Okay. So, and I'll move on here and I'm gonna go show us, let me go back. I'm gonna show you the schools. So I'm gonna start with elementary schools.
And while you're doing that, Anita, I'm just going to address the question that Josie Barnhart put in. She said it was very helpful that the translation option and how that could be done on different tabs. Does that also include attachments?
Typically, yes, but it depends on the attachment. So we would have to verify some of that information, which I have not gotten around to doing all of that yet. One of the things that we have noticed is that with Google sites, like a lot of our teacher sites, those don't translate the way they're supposed to. So we are working on that on the background, trying to figure out a solution for that. So in the same regards, we're going to be searching for a solution to make sure that every aspect that we touch or that any stakeholder touches on our website would translate. I hope that answers your question.
And then just to also reiterate, Ms. Crable asked about broken link pages. And I know one of Anita's first primary responsibilities once she's come on has been able to go in and click on every link throughout the website, both district-wide and school-wide, to make sure that we are updating or deleting or recreating any of those broken links or 404 page reconnections or redirections that we have had. So hopefully they are less and less of those until finally we are down to none.
Absolutely. I have found myself down quite a few rabbit holes going down the websites, and it's really easy to do. So one of the things I really am working on, I'm fixing a survey right now that I can put out to our elementary webmasters, our middle school webmasters, and our high school webmasters to gauge their level of training and their comfort level with where they are with what they're doing, so that I can then tailor the training around them. We have people who have never done this before, so I'm going to have to do some grass level training, and I have people who have done it before and have been doing it for a while who may need a little bit more of a higher technical level, how to do this, how to do that. So again, I want to gauge these people and address their concerns so that they don't have to, and I don't want to necessarily say waste their time, but if you don't want to put a fifth grader in a kindergarten classroom if they don't need to be. So we want to make sure that all of that is appropriate for the level that they're at. All right, so I'm going to take us to a school. So we're going to go to elementary schools. And just so you all know, the blank background drives me crazy. So we are working on improving that as well. I want to make things a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, shall we say? All right, let's just pick one. We'll start with Eaton Elementary. All right, so elementary schools, and actually all of our schools, have a template. That being said, they have their own logo, which is specific to them. They have their own colors specific to them. Other than that, we typically want them to kind of stick with the same information, because in my mind, if a kid changes from one school to the next, we want parents to be able to find the information related to that school. To me, the website is the window into the school, so that, you know, we don't all as parents have time to go to the school and investigate every little aspect of where our kid is. Some of us might want to do that, but we can't. So this is the way that we can actually look in there and find out what's going on. So again, they have their news, what's going on, upcoming events, things of that nature. And then items of interest down here, you'll find that are very informative and can help your children. So one of the things that I did want to point out with that as well, and we'll just choose another school. Okay, so here's Coddington. Colors are different, and you're starting to see where we have some differing layouts and things of that nature. So, and this right here, we want to upgrade this information here. While this is excellent information, we want to make it specific to those schools as well. We do want some of the district level information that we're giving out to be easily accessible at the school level, but we also want to make sure that our schools have the ability to inform their parents of individual things that they're doing, because it's amazing what happens at each school because they have their own personas. This up here at the top, this information is specific to the schools for the most part. District, that's ours. Calendar is specific to district level staff portal, but your quick links, and this will be different for each site. And that's what I hope to change. I want to make this a little bit easier for every parent to go to the quick links and find exactly what they're looking for. That being said, if there's information that you parents are looking for that you cannot find, please let me know. I would like to be able to compile a list of exactly what everyone is looking for and kind of make it a standard for what's at our school level. Okay. For me at elementary school, it was the lunch menu, making sure the teacher's information is there and the events information. The child nutrition information, which was the menus and the ability to put money on their account, was very important. Faculty and staff, okay, and I'll draw you into this as well. This was very important to me as a parent. I wanted to know who my kids were. So the other aspect of training our elementary webmasters is to make sure that they can assist their teachers. Teachers they use Google websites, which is fairly simple to use, but some teachers shy away from that, and we kind of want to help them. There's actually a Google template for our teachers and our staff at the school level so that they don't have to recreate the wheel. We want to make that easier on them too. So we want to give them some support and some backup there.
All right, Nita, we've got a couple questions coming in from Josie. Isn't the lunch menu a separate app now?
So the lunch menu is actually done through Child Nutrition, and it's, yes, so this is not our site. This is actually the site for Child Nutrition under their program that they utilize. So the menus can be found here. One of the interesting things about this is that we have been talking about ways to make things more cohesive. And so this is Titan. So the Titan portal is where you would put money on the account and stuff like that. Okay. Let's see. Here's your menus. And so while this is Titan, this is still specific to New Hanover County Schools Child Nutrition. Okay. So here's where you're going to find your meal prices, and here's where you're going to find your actual menus. Okay.
And then we have a question from Meredith, who asked, the ADA button is in the way of the ability to scroll through the pictures information. I'm assuming on the slider on the main landing page. Can it be moved up or down?
Okay, let me get, oh, so that moves with, okay. So are we referencing this one? I'm assuming this is what she's talking about. So it stays static and you should be able to just scroll wheel.
That is what I'm talking about. When you're on the main page of the district website,
So if you go to the main page, Anita,
okay,
and then you see the scroll button there, see how the ADA is in the way, and then even there, sometimes the button gets in the way, but it scrolls with you.
Yes. Okay, I see. I can research that. I don't know if there's a way to move it. I don't believe there is, but I will definitely research that.
And Anita, why you're just making a little note to yourself, the one question that you actually just demonstrated for one of our parents, I think it was Meredith who said, what button takes me back to the main page from a school's page, and you did that to get us back here. So I didn't know if Meredith picked up on that or not.
Sorry about that. Okay, excellent. So yeah, anytime you go to any school, that quick links at the very top information. So you can go to any middle school, and again, it stays the same except for the quick links. Okay. Quick links is the only thing specific to the school. So if I need to get back to the district site, I just click on district and it takes me right back. Okay. And I did kind of want to move on to middle school a little bit, because middle school, as a parent, what I was looking for at the middle school level was different than the elementary school. And I have to say, when it was time to transition my kids from elementary to middle, I was nervous. I was really, really nervous about sending my kids somewhere where there were that many kids, and I didn't have that close of a connection with the teachers and the staff. And so in that regard, I went to the website. And I started looking and I started checking things out, and it was like, okay, what does their school look like? How did things work for them? The things that were most important to me at the very get-go: the teachers, the admin, and the staff at the school. Who are they? What does each one of them do? And how do their schedules work? Had no idea about how their schedules worked. Athletics was important to me. And of course the events, and of course the food menu. So this is Holly Shelter. I just wanted to point out, again, we've got kind of the basic colors. They've got their color scheme. They've got their news and upcoming events. So you're seeing a template. You're seeing kind of the same concept and design and information that is very important and useful. And then as you start getting into all of this information up here is where you find things that are a little bit more specific to each individual school. Okay, so this is pretty typical for every school: student resources and teacher resources, parents, and athletics. So under the parents aspect, and I'm just going to come in here. So the first thing we see is that we've got a little bit of information that's outdated. So we need to get in there and clean this up. This is a perfect example of where we're going and how we're going to change some things. And I'm definitely not picking on anyone here, because in all fairness, the website last year, like the main landing pages and this kind of stuff, since the kids weren't in school, was not the main priority. The main priority was getting them the learning resources that they needed to be able to continue their educations at home. So this is now a priority to us, and we want to make sure that it gets updated, and that all of our parents, our stakeholders, our kids, everybody can find everything they need in a one-stop shop.
Got a couple more questions coming in from Laura. I have a child at New Hanover High School. I don't know that he accesses his email. He's pre-lyceum. How can I access this? And Laura, are you asking how to access his email?
Okay, so I will tell you this.
I'll say that he's a 14-year-old boy. He's, he's really into sports. He's, but I don't know that he's really good at looking at his email. And is there a way that the teachers can sort of push it out to the kids to look at that?
So I will say this, if there is an issue with your child and their email, one of the things that you can do is you can speak to the teacher and ask them to have you added to the list, or to kind of BCC you on information and let you know what's going on. PowerSchool is an excellent resource. I use this resource a lot. It tells me the second my child is tardy. I get a push notification to my phone. It lets me know. I can go into PowerSchool and set things in place that, let's say my kid gets below a certain grade. There's certain things in there that you can say, if such and such happens, I want a notification about this. So I highly recommend that you check out PowerSchool, and I highly recommend that you check out the Canvas ability. There is a way for parents to look in Canvas and be informed as to what's going on with their children inside Canvas. They will not be a student, they'll be a parent, and they'll get to see their students' information in regards to that. And so if you need more help with that, you can call the technology help desk. And you can go right here to technology and digital learning. And so you'll find the information right in here for them. And right there's that phone number that you can call, and they will be able to assist you with anything in regards to your students' technical needs.
And I do look at PowerSchool. Unfortunately, some of the teachers don't grade on time, and so it looks like, you know, like somebody has a C, and
I totally understand what you're saying there, which was one of the reasons at how I stumbled upon Canvas and the parent option of Canvas, because a lot of times the grades are actually are in Canvas, and they just haven't transitioned them to PowerSchool. So I think it's important that we try to explore those avenues as well. Okay. Again, teachers.
And then
Go ahead.
the other question we have is, when there is a crisis, where does that latest news information go on a website?
And if I could follow up on that, I asked the question. I think even tonight, I RSVP'd to this from my work account and never received the Zoom link. It went to my son's email, which, full disclosure, I log in as him, and that's how the problem of not knowing what's going on gets solved. Like even this, I email one thing and I don't get a response. So I think that the websites are lovely, and that consistent information across all of those is excellent. What I'm more concerned about is the consistency of communication from the district aligned with Hoggard. My son's 11th grade at Hoggard. You know, when it comes to things that we should know about, and you know, there was an incident a few weeks ago at Hoggard where there was not a lot of information given, and I'm on Twitter looking for it and reaching out, and you know, teachers are actually responding. So I guess I thought this was more of a family communication, like how can we have consistent, helpful communication between schools and families? And I'm looking forward to hearing more about that, but I really appreciate this. But to know where to go, like, do I go to Twitter? Do I go, you know, there's been issues with getting the phone calls. There's been issues that way. And the other thing kind of to follow up was, I remember we used to have I asked this question as well, the COVID dashboard. So like I have no idea what's going on with COVID in our schools. Hopefully that means there's literally none and everything is going great. I have a hard time believing that, but it used to be a Google Doc. So I have no idea that you had to really search for on the superintendent's, on the whole school website. So if you could just kind of like, I did all this stuff is wonderful, but when it comes to crises and things like that, that's where I'm really like not understanding what the process and the idea and the theory behind where everything goes on the website and how you communicate with families and parents.
Okay,
Sure.
folks, can I just jump in for just 1 second? These questions are valid, and that is what the purpose of this meeting, the committee is. But if you could just let us get through the things that we wanted to tell you about, and then we'll hold these questions to the end. And then some of these topics, but what I'm hearing, I'm making notes on these, and some of the topics, these can be some of the things that we focus in on completely, because these are all valid. So if we could just type your questions in and hold tight. I mean, I'm not putting you off, just hold tight for a minute, because they're all very valid, but we may get to some of these questions when we get to the school messenger section. And then at the very end, that would be really helpful, I think.
Yes, absolutely. We will be doing a school messenger, which is the platform that we utilize for communications outside of the website. But your question regarding COVID actually brought up a great point. Up here at the top of pretty much any of our websites, you have a search bar. So when you click on it, you just click inside, and all I typed in was COVID. And within 3 milliseconds, I had 74 results. So I can instantly click over here. Okay. So I've got the information that here's the toolkit, here's frequently asked questions. And we've got a lot of different information here that it can help answer hopefully some of your questions. Let me go back. I wanted to show some of the other stuff. So COVID-19 health guidance.
Just to jump in here, I do manage the with student support's help. I manage the COVID dashboard along with the rest of our team. And if you were to go to that back to school 2021, 2022 tab, I'll let Anita pull this up. You can go to the New Hanover County Schools COVID-19 dashboard, which is that Excel sheet there that we were looking for. So then this pulls up all of the information, and we've been managing that since I believe, you know, Josh, jump in and correct me if I'm wrong. I think the second week of school since it started.
But what, to Jeannie's point, COVID's important. And so that should be.
Meredith, you're muted again, hon.
I keep getting.
So
you're muting.
Yeah, I just wanted to give Anita the chance to go through and finish going through the items that she's going through, and then we can circle back to those other questions, as Ms. Crable has said.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Caress. Okay, so back to school information, as Russell was just pointing out, we've got the information here and some of the things that are still pertinent in regards to how we're operating at the district level and at the school level. And I do want to go back because middle school, I kind of briefly overviewed that and showed you a little bit about how the middle school websites looked. We have high schools. Again, when I got comfortable in middle school, my kids are going to high school, a little bigger arena, more kids, more everything. I was absolutely worried, you know, how are they going to handle this? And, you know, they handled it a lot better than I did. I'll just leave it at that. So when we click on high schools, we find our information here, and each high school is very unique in its own persona and its character. Each school, again, they have their own colors, their own information, their own people, settings, everything is specific to them and the information that they have going on. So again, school news, all of upcoming events, all very specific to them. Again, you'll see here, you've got all of the same information. Our enrollment, this is typically going to take you back to our district level because enrollment is now done online. We use Scribbles to do all of that and manage all of that information. Athletics, parents, learning, etc. And then up here, again, your quick links, this is specific to this school. So their daily announcements, high school my children attend, actually this information's on the front page. It's not necessarily in the quick links, but the quick links is where various people, depending on what's happening at the school level and what's most asked for, that's what they're putting in their quick links, okay? So I just want everyone to be very aware that the quick links up here at a school is for that specific school, okay?
Excuse me, Ms. Baggy.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
I see somebody, el señor David Salazar. I want to know, I saw him, but he's not there anymore. I don't see his face. But I don't know if he's listening to me, but if he needs anything to let me know so we can help him out. I'm not sure if he knows English or not. Hola, buenas tardes, señor David Salazar. No lo estoy viendo, pero sé que está ahí. Déjeme saber si necesita ayuda, a lo mejor en algún momento haciendo alguna pregunta. En este momento lo que están haciendo es hablando cómo lo que tiene que ver con las escuelas de New Hanover, cómo funciona el website, ¿ok? Para que los padres puedan navegar y puedan buscar la información relacionada con las escuelas, con los estudiantes, y también en la parte de arriba, cuando tú navegas, vas a encontrar un enlace donde puedes traducir la información en español, ¿ok? Eso es lo que ella está explicando, cómo van a tratar de mejorar para que sea un poquito más amigable, ¿verdad? El programa que tiene que ver con las escuelas de New Hanover y puedas buscar la información relacionada con eso, ¿ok? En la parte de abajo hay una cosa que se llama chat. Usted puede escribir cualquier pregunta que quiera hacer para entonces poderse contestar al final, ¿ok? I just explained that what you're talking about is about the site, the New Hanover site, that how the people can navigate and look for the different things inside the website. And that you're going to be working with different things to change a little bit of things so it could be a little bit more friendly. I told him, I don't know if he's hearing me, at the end, he can write anything in the chat, and at the end, we can answer his questions if he has any doubts and any questions about this, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you for that. That's wonderful.
Okay, you are so welcome, and thank you.
Okay. So the other aspect of this, so we've gone through your traditional schools. There's a lot of information out there for other things. So I wanted to briefly touch on the specialty high schools and programs. So right here, and we are working on all of these and touching this up a little bit to make it a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. But each school at the high school level has a specialty high school program. Okay, so if you're looking for that type of information and you can't find it readily accessible at the school level yet, you can come to the district and you can look under schools, and specialty high schools will link you directly to each one of those individual programs. Okay, so this is at the high school program level. Okay, for specialty non-traditional, we've got our Isaac Bear, Career Readiness at Mosley, C-Tech, and WEC, or Wilmington Early College. All of these, as you can see, it's a hyperlink. It will take you directly to their site. So, and again, they have their template, their colors, their logo, their information up at the top is very much, it's not the same, but it's similar, so that it keeps some consistency with the information that we're trying to relay. Okay. All right. So the big thing I want everyone to understand is that this is not a static design. We do not want you to see the same thing when you come to this website. We want the information to be updated as it is needed. If something changes, we want it done immediately. If it's not changing, that's fine. We don't need to change it. But what we've noticed is that, staff change, staff move, things like that. We want to make sure that that gets updated as quickly as possible so that all of our stakeholders know who to contact. That's first and foremost. Okay, so if you find things that you are looking for and you don't find it readily accessible, please feel free to email me at anita.baggy@nhcs.net, and I'll be happy to look into an avenue in which we can bring that a little bit further to the top and see if we can't help everyone out, making things a little bit more accessible. Okay. All right. We have any questions? I think kind of gone through most of this.
So we talked about, if you, Anita, can first just talk about where crisis communication information goes. I don't think we answered that question.
Let me, Chris, if I could, I'll call an audible here a little bit and talk about that. And before we turn it over to Russell to talk school messenger specifically, really kind of open up a conversation if we need to go there to make some, to get some clarification, feedback, et cetera. So questions for me, questions for Anita, if we could, I'm gonna, again, call a quick audible, raise your hand in the little raise hand section or type it in the chat and we'll address it. So first off, when it comes to crisis communication, just a few thoughts and then we'll continue with context as we need to. We push this school messenger capability that we're talking about, or we'll talk about, down to the school level, and then we back up and enforce those principles in real time whenever they need to communicate out to their folks. So the standard procedure, if you will, is anytime there's a lockdown or a shelter in place, both of which are usually determined by our SROs in the building and determine whether or not that's going to be necessary. The protocol at the school level is after the shelter in place has been lifted, excuse me, they generally send out a notification that there was a lockdown that had happened. Now there's several tiers, if you will, of communicating during a safety event or a crisis. Most of the time the schools are going to have that and be able to communicate that to their families in a time and pace that works most appropriately for them. If we go back to New Hanover High School or an actual crisis situation on the ground, and I think this gets after maybe Jeanne's question, if it doesn't, let me know. The very first thing we're going to do is we're going to utilize School Messenger, right? We're going to utilize School Messenger, and we're going to be specific to, usually specific to the schools affected by the crisis. So Ogden Elementary School did not get a School Messenger notification about an event at New Hanover High School. Obviously, right? That's intuitive, that's purposeful. So we want to have a high level of specificity and speed with regard to communicating with our parents. And so the answer to your question is it's going to be on School Messenger. Now, if it's a lockdown, if it's a shelter in place, whatever the case, this is the smallest big town or the biggest small town, whatever you want to say, our media is involved and asking us every step of the way. So it starts with School Messenger and it starts to bubble out as necessary. So number one, I would ask that folks ensure that their information is updated both in PowerSchool, work with the data managers to make sure that that's updated. That got reiterated last night. And if there's still a glitch, then bring that to us and we need to fix that glitch, right? So we're still kind of working out some of the kinks. So on the parents' end, do what you need to do. On our end, we'll still, address any issues. But we want to make sure that intended messages where your kid or your students are enrolled, they're getting to you. School Messengers, number one. Number two, or closely number three, are going to be, we'll work with our media partners to ensure that the press release echoes the information that we're putting out. But we want folks most affected to be informed first, and then it's going to ripple out. It's going to ripple out via our media partners and a press release. Perhaps we'll do a press conference, and then we'll use our social media channels as well. But it really depends on the situation. I acknowledge that sometimes I completely understand the desire and the necessity as a parent to have information, to really desire perfect information. But, and I think folks realize this, dealing with a couple of hurdles. First is we don't have perfect information even as it's emergent. And usually with the threats that we're dealing with this year, those are determined and investigated and closed out by law enforcement. So we're somewhat beholden to the pace at which they're able to provide information. That's one. Two is that I'd be hazarding a guess at probably 24 or 25 screenshot-based threats that have circulated this year across various schools, not just high schools, middle schools across the area. And I'll admit, we're working on refining how and when those principals communicate. And we struggle with this because that would be 24 times that we have inadvertently and unnecessarily created a panic from the district level. Panic I'm using loosely, right? But creating this environment where folks are obviously coming to the school and getting their kids, and then they turned out to be non-credible. So that's why we're working closely with law enforcement anytime that happens. What we've landed on, what I'm encouraging principals to do, and what my team is offering, and I think we're getting there, is, in my opinion, I want to hear from the principal. I want a phone call and School Messenger and say Mr. Sutton at New Hanover High School. I want to hear his voice, and I want him to say, hey, listen, there's a situation that's going on. School's currently in shelter in place. I'm not worried. Whatever that principal, however they are, I want you to know it's under control, and I'll send another message when it comes out. We're getting there. We're supporting principals in that endeavor to really be, present and responsive with regard to how they're communicating. But some schools experience lockdowns and shelters in place by extension of where they are in the community far more frequently than others. So the others, we're kind of getting them up to speed, and the ones that deal with it very frequently are more used to it. So it's a work in progress. The other aspect of this that makes it challenging, and I'll pause right after this to see if this cleared up anything. The other aspect, though, it's my favorite thing to say. We want to be fast. We want to be right. We want to give you information that you need. But in so doing, we won't be ahead of the middle schooler or the high schooler with a cell phone that's starting to post and go viral, that's starting to alert mom and dad that have questions. All right. And so we're essentially, we're not racing against that. We're actually working with law enforcement to encourage not reposting threats, but that's challenging. So with that, I'll pause for Gianna or anyone. So did that get after it? What else can I answer?
I wanted to thank you for responding to that. In full disclosure, I'm a professor of communication studies at UNCW, and I teach crisis and risk communication, and I'm published on K through 12 school crisis communication. So all of those things that you've said are exactly, what I know to be true about crisis and risk communication at the K through 12 level. So maybe it's the execution that's not happening as opposed to this planning and considering audiences, because of course you vet, every threat with law enforcement and determine what's credible and what's not. I mean, that's a basic tenet. So I understand all these things. I hope everybody else, was helped by this. But what's happening is these things aren't happening. So I guess that's the part where I'm like, you answered the question perfectly, if you were my student, you get an A, but what's actually happening on the ground is not actually reflecting that. And sometimes it might be good to explain that. Here's the process that's supposed to be happening, and here's what we do, and we vet it with law enforcement. That's why we don't tell you everything that happens, and here's why, and and people will respond to that. Well, but right now it feels that there is no clear crisis communication planning because it's very school-based and it's very changes every time. And so, yes, it took me 3 times. I've been in the district for 12 years, and it's now taken me 3 times this semester to get back on the call list. And I sometimes get a call and I don't. So, I think some of those consistencies in implementation might be the issue, as opposed to knowing that you have a strategy, you have a plan that is, something that communicated, everybody knows about. And it's of course more difficult when you have a bunch of students who have cell phones and are texting their parents, and who we just want to give reassurance to, and to be like, it's going to be okay. So, that's where I've been, and I haven't seen a whole lot of growth in that in 12 years in the district. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, as, these things that are in place are great. Maybe it's the actual what's happening on the ground during a crisis is what's not reflecting your careful planning and, partnerships with law enforcement, community agencies, and the individual schools.
Yeah,
So
no,
I appreciate the answer.
I think that's completely fair. And we are, full disclosure, we are still, as I mentioned, we adopted the school messenger system, this particular system, which is essentially the school industry standard. Correct me if I'm wrong, but large districts that I'm aware of also use school messenger. So working out the kinks on that end, but also it's a new tool for the principals. There's new challenges this year. And so I completely agree. We're gonna work out those kinks. Follow up with us though, if you're still experiencing technical issues and the data to be right. And that's true for everyone. We'll look into that at our level and see if there's anything we can follow up. But thank you for that. That's fantastic. All right,
and Josh, to chime in there and follow up on that. I did, while we were sitting here, look up your account. So I have emailed the data manager to kind of correct the email. So to go into logistics there for a second about working out those kinks that you mentioned, this year in particular with School Messenger, contact information is pulled from PowerSchool. So you have to have certain criteria marked within PowerSchool to receive communication. So, and Anita here in a minute, and I'll go more into this, but I'll pull up some of our metrics so that way I can show you our communication and how many parents and families we're reaching. Thanks, Anita. So we have roughly 26,000 families in the district, and you can see here these metrics. So phone calls are still our number one. So we have about 25,000 that are delivered, almost 26,000, and then about 1,600 that are not delivered, and that could be because people block the call. There are a number of reasons, but reaching those families is our top priority, and we've made a lot of growth in these metrics from the start of the year in implementing this system. But we are working with our data managers to ensure that our contact information is up to date and all of the marks are checked, so that way families do receive the communication.
Is there anything, before I turn it over to Russell, is there anything else in this audible that I called that you'd like me to expound upon or hit upon? And we don't have to agree on everything, but I'm an open book with regard to at least my rationale and the direction of the team and what we're trying to do here. I love the feedback.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
So I understand and appreciate the explanation around the crisis communication, I guess, as it's happening. Is there standards in place for sort of post communication and receiving that? Just thinking about, and I understand it's going back into the specific schools, but there seems to be a little inconsistency of which principals decide to address something after and which don't, and how that works. I'm just curious to know if that's something that comes from you or is it individual?
Yeah, so you mean after, for example, they went into a shelter in place or a lockdown or something like that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking specifically of a couple incidents that we just never necessarily heard from the principal. And I understand, you know, coming from a law enforcement background, I understand all the logistics of it and giving something the energy versus not, but like having no communication just to say, hey, we did this, but it was really nothing, or whatever that is.
Sure. So what I'll say is, the team can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it was a week or two ago, we have the opportunity to communicate tools, new business, things like that with the principals from the district level. And so what we provided from communications, and we talked to them at a previous principals meeting, was really templates. This is going on, this is an update, and then it is over type thing. Fill in the blanks. We're here to help provide context. We obviously don't want it to be sterile. It needs to be unique to the situation and to the school. But to your point, Jen, yes, the expectation is there that they communicate this. As I was mentioning to Jan, they're like, we're still building out, you know, can they do it? Can they do it rapidly? Can they do it via school messenger? Is that working? Do they have the mental space to get the message out? We're there to help with that, right? Because it's chaotic, can be chaotic. And then just also acknowledging the variety of safety communication that is required. So I'll give you a very specific example. And just by way of, it's not always, I think the inclination can be, not saying that it is, for us to think that it's locked down here, it's shelter in place there, and it's probably all the same, so that our templates would work great. No, they won't all work all the time. So for example, earlier in the week, there was a bus situation after the bus had left the school, and it lands in a situation that could be community violence. Well, now we're going to turn on the crisis team. We're going to make sure that those students have access to the crisis team the following day and any sort of counseling service. And it didn't happen in the school, happened on the bus, happened in the community. But the communication that went out was specific to that school, and that there was an event. And then there was more specific information on resources available that went to the bus. That's the level of specificity that I'm mentioning. It went to the kids who were registered in the Power School that were the bus, and then the follow-on services available to those families on the bus who experienced that thing or may know about that. The rest of the school didn't. And so that's just by way of example, that's how nuanced it can be across schools. But the long answer to your short question, yes, and to Ms. Barnhart, to Josie Barnhart's point, yes, we want to get to a place where in a way that's skillful and that is appropriate, one, let folks know if and when there are situations that it is being handled, and then follow up when it's over, right? I think that God willing, New Hanover High was an anomaly that we will never have to deal with again, but we are going to deal with threats. And what we don't want to do, as I mentioned earlier, is create, one, a cry wolf situation, or two, when a kid 2 counties over sends a Snapchat message, we shut down the school day after day. So it's that balancing act from a communications perspective that we're really trying to hit. So, but yes, we're going to get it out more, faster, and we're getting the principals the information they need to do. So I hope that helps. Anything else? And I want to be mindful of time and give Russell a few minutes to hit some of the technical aspects of School Messenger. Anything else though? Going once, going twice. All right, Russell, over to you.
Thanks so much, Josh. So as I had mentioned, to share a little bit about the technical aspect of School Messenger. So we used to use software before, Blackboard or Connect 5. So you would get Connect calls, I think is probably what most families would remember them as. But in switching over to this new software, we are now automatically pulling data, like I had mentioned, from PowerSchool. So in real time, that data is updated and it pulls every night, I think at like 2:34, 2:35, some odd time that pulls that data. So if we were to update your phone number or your email, it would be pulled in for the very next day. So we're continuing to work with your data managers to make sure that, again, as I mentioned, in order to receive communication within the PowerSchool system, you have to have a check mark as custody or lives with, and also be marked as active in the system. So sometimes what happens if you've got multiple students within the district, you might have a graduate, then your account might be marked as unactive. So that could be a lapse in why you're receiving that communication, or whenever you're doing that beginning of the year paperwork, it wasn't checkmarked that you were custody or lived with. So those are some of, just to give you some background on why you might not be receiving that communication. But again, we are working on improving that. And I know since the implementation of this system, we have definitely made some great strides. With phone calls, you know, 27,580 phone numbers. And then we're reaching about 94% of that, which is a really great number. And then with emails, you know, we're about 82%. So we would like to see that go up. But again, some of those non-delivered could be because the parents have blocked the emails or haven't been able to, or it's an inaccurate email address. And the big one I would like to hit on is the texting with School Messenger. To touch on the points of being able to get that rapid communication out faster, is opting into texting. So you saw there before, like 68% of our families are not receiving the texting because they haven't opted in yet. So you do have to opt in. So this can be found on our social media sites. That flyer that Anita just had up there can be found on our social media sites. And also, you know, we've sent it out to our principals to share with families once again. So be looking for this and opt in, because I believe that this is the fastest way. If you don't have a smartphone, you're not checking your emails right away, you can't answer the phone call. This is going to be the fastest way to get that communication. And something else I'll touch on that we are working with School Messenger on is families are telling me that the calls are coming up as spam, or we're all aware of the car insurance renewal of your car insurance or whatever spam calls. We're working to change it so that way it's a local number, so that way families are, I think, more inclined to get the message. Looks like there was a question in the chat here.
And Russell, if you don't mind, I'd actually like to touch on that. As a parent, I opted into this and I get information from my school via text, and I absolutely love it because back when we had Connect 5, a lot of times we would get the email and I wouldn't listen to the phone call. I know, bad me. I would actually go read the email later. So the thing with the texting is that information is there for you when you have time to look at it. So as I'm an advocate, I highly recommend this as a parent.
And David, to touch on your point here, we do those metrics. You see, I'm able to do a full breakdown, and I didn't pull that all out there because I don't want to share all that information, the contact information, but I'm able to do a breakdown of whose numbers are blocked, who's been contacted, and do full contact reports. So if you're not receiving emails or communication, I encourage you to reach out to your school data manager, or you can reach out to me. I'll put my email in the chat there. It's russell.clark@nhcs.net. And I'm happy to go in and, you know, update your information and make sure that you're receiving the communication, because we want to make sure that our families are receiving receiving all the information they need. So are there any questions about School Messenger specifically on the technical side? You know, I've touched on where your information is pulled from and working with data managers to make sure that you are receiving the communication. But on the technical side, do we have any questions or concerns with that? Gina shared, I feel like one of the biggest challenges for getting messages overall is getting into the system for the first time. As new NHCS parents at the high school level, knowing how to contact a data manager, who they are, or that is needed to be done is not obvious. So I do apologize. About that. But Anita, I think, touched on this walking through on our websites. You can always go in and see who your data manager is. So if you go to your high school and if you just pulled up Hoggard there or Ashley, it doesn't matter, and you went to your faculty and staff, under it could be under administration, but you'll see your data manager or, you know, your support staff. It could be under any of those. But also you could just call the school, the regular school number, and you can get in touch with the data manager that way and just say, I need to speak to the data manager, and they'll be able to help you with that. But this should be pulled in from your first year paperwork.
And I'll just jump in there because Gina, I think that's good feedback too, though, because I mean, coming from other districts, I think the term data manager is not completely ubiquitous across every district in America. And the fact that that might be the name or the name of the position that you have to contact in this district, I think that's an absolutely fair point to help make that process more intuitive. As Russell said, it should be captured in that first year paperwork, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it slips up. Sometimes there's a finger error in terms of entry. So that's something we'll take a look at. I think that's helpful. Thank you for that.
And to be honest, when you say first year paperwork, I'm actually interested to know if I even obviously I completed something because my child was enrolled, but I didn't ever receive anything to me about that, just that I needed to go in and fill in boxes, which was entirely done online. So any follow-up to that would need to be online, honestly.
Okay, that's good. What else? Not just specific to School Messenger, but we have a few minutes. Is there anything at all we want to chat about? Meredith, please.
So one of the things that I wrote in there is the bottom line up front report, that I get a lot of stuff home from my kids' school, and had one thing that a parent said, like, oh, have you gotten this? And found out my daughter had used it for drawing on the back of it because that was the first thing that came out of her, right? So her backpack. And so from a countywide perspective, there've got to be, like some of the other parents said, things that everybody needs to know about, from the perspective of, even just like countywide chorus auditions, right? I'd never even heard of that. And that was scrolling along the front of the website as Anita was showing it to us. And so I think that it would be helpful to have like a week blow by blow that says, like, these are the 5 things that are important that this week. And it shows up on Instagram, and it shows up on Twitter, and it shows up on the website, and I get it as an email, so that I'm on board with all of those things. And then the second thing is, I wanted to reiterate what Jeannie said about the COVID information. I really do think that there should be a spot front and center on the website for things like that that are important. So not buried in a link. I want next to literacy, COVID-19, because COVID-19 is important right now. And maybe COVID-19 goes away next year, and next year is, pandemic number 2, like whatever it is, right? But that's important right now. And when that information feels buried, it feels like it's buried for a reason. So we had to go through 3 clicks and guess. It wasn't, this is where the COVID-19 dashboard is. I now have to guess which link to get to on that. And that doesn't feel transparent. And I think that's what Jeannie was trying to get to.
Okay. No, I think that's fair. We'll make that change. It'll be next to literacy.
Okay. But yeah, I love the text messages. I don't know how I signed up, but I get them. They're amazing. It's awesome to get them. It's awesome to hear about stuff. But it'd be cool too if that was like, here's your weekly link to click and find out the things that you should know about this week.
I'm glad you guys love the texting. So please spread the word to get that out there. Share that on your own social media accounts. You've got friends. I mean, you know, your kids, parents, friends, whoever. Share that so that way we can get that number to look more like those phone calls at 94% instead of 68 not getting it. We also have School Messenger. I'll touch on this too here for a minute. And something we'd love to get more of is we have an app. So you can kind of go in there and update your contact information and do things on that side of it as well. So if that's information you would like to learn more about, it's something we want to roll out, but we were kind of ironing out the kinks of making sure that everyone is at least receiving the phone calls, the emails, and the text first. We're working on two. I'm working with Anita as she, you know, is settling into her new role to develop a school messenger page for our website. So that way families can go on there if they do have questions like, who do I contact if I'm not receiving communication? And those questions to kind of iron that out. And Chris just went ahead and put in there in the chat, text yes to 67587 to be receiving those texts. Anything else that we would like to touch on here while we're in this meeting?
Hola, señor. I'm sorry. Can I say something to Señor Salazar just in case? I've been sending him messages in Spanish. I don't know if he's reading them. So I would like to ask if he has any kind of questions.
Yeah,
Hola,
no,
señor.
I got no questions. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Señor Salazar, están hablando de lo que tiene que ver con School Messenger, que es lo que están usando para poder comunicarse, ¿verdad? Con los padres. Es algo nuevo que están poniendo ahora mismo en la escuela para poder ayudar para que la comunicación sea más rápida y más efectiva, ¿ok?
I heard them. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Nikki, she asked, she put in the chat, could you do a pilot group for the app? I think that's a great idea. So, you know, maybe with Miss Craybill and the rest of our communications team, we could get a group together to work on the app to pilot that. I really like that idea. So I'm definitely going to make a note of that and see if we can pull from the participants in this group to do that. So that way we can kind of get an idea of how that works, because it is a newer thing. So I appreciate that suggestion. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm all for that. So maybe if you are interested in something like that, why don't you put your name in the chat so that we don't necessarily have to guess, you know, who wants to do that. And yeah, that would be awesome. And then we can figure out how we can get together. You know, we don't have to wait to the next, you know, Family Communications Committee meeting. We can put something together between now and then.
And I can also, Ms. Craybill, open that up to, you know, to a larger group and and send it out a school messenger if that's something we're interested in.
And Russell, I'll happily volunteer.
Thank you. That way I can just run down the hall.
Absolutely.
So I'll share as you're gathering any final questions and we prepare to close this out. I'll share that you know, we have come together as a team, a communications and outreach team for the schools in the past 5 months or so. It's before that, I think Caress helmed it beautifully, but alone and unafraid for a good period of time. And so it's a bit of a ship of Theseus situation where we're building it as we're building the airplane, as pick your analogy, right? But we're nimble enough to be able to iterate and change. And that's why I want to be completely transparent, open to feedback, and acknowledge that we'll shift things, in accordance with best practices and what's possible for the team. But that's why you'll see us try some products, some information products, a way on social media or a platform. We'll get some data. We'll look at how much it's being utilized, and then we may shift it a little bit. We may shift our practices a little bit. We'll start notifying earlier. We'll start, we can move some things around on the website to Meredith's point, right? So it's a matter of continuing to professionalize this, but also keeping this conversation open and alive to iterate, because you are the customers, you are the most important stakeholders in how we do information and do it well. So we've got a really, really great, talented, motivated team. I mean, I'm super thrilled. We're also still really new, and so that's why the feedback's imperative. But very, very interested in getting this. I'll be honest with you, I'm selfish, I'm competitive. I want this to be the most robust, most refined, most sought after communications website, communication and outreach program in schools in America. I'm benchmarking against the best to get us there. So that said, any final questions?
Señor, excuse me, can I say something?
Please.
Yeah. Yes, señor Salazar, si usted tiene alguna preguntita, estaban hablando sobre School Messenger, que es el programa que se va a estar usando de nuevo para llevar a cabo los mensajes a los padres, para que le llegue efectivamente más rápido, y si te das cuenta, ahí hay algo puesto. No sé si usted quiere, no lo estoy escuchando porque tiene el micrófono apagado, pero si necesita ayuda, me
Yeah,
deja
I don't
saber.
have any questions. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you, señor Salazar. Thank you.
All right, anything going once, going twice? All right, Ms. Crable, over to you.
Yes. Okay. So you all, thank you for your participation tonight. This has been a great conversation, and thank you so much for allowing the communications team to get through the messages that they wanted to present to you, because the more you know how to use the resources that we have, the better off we'll all be. And the more feedback that you can give us to the services that we're providing, it helps us know that we're actually being effective and providing information that you want and need in a timely manner. So thank you so much for that. And I'm just going to reiterate Josh thinks he's competitive and wants to be good and wants to be the best communicator. I do as well. And I don't know if I competed with Anita in being, the helicopter mom of the year when my children were in school. But I mean, it is important, for we parents to. My children left the system, a while ago. I had a 2010 and a 2013 graduate, and getting information way back then was not easy. And so I just would like to commend our team here for taking our communication system to another level. And again, yeah, there's always things to improve, but I just encourage you, if you get stuck, on on it, then, contact, on the website, contact Anita or your school principal. They can help you at the school level. And then anyone of Josh's team, can help you with just questions. But so yeah, and always use, I'd like to just remind you, always try and use your school principal whenever you can, to get right down to what your deal is, and then just, kind of move on up. And I'm always available to, you send me an email, and, I can call you if I need to. But this is great conversation, and you have some great ideas, and thank you for even paying attention close enough to ask the detailed questions that you have, because we wouldn't know if you don't ask. So thank you again. Our next meeting is going to be in December, and the third, let me just check it out. Sorry, I don't have a committed memory. It's the 16th of December. I guess we might need to probably look at that, because that's the day before school gets out. So should we reevaluate that, or just get back to folks in time?
I think that they can perhaps hold the date, Ms. Craybill, and then we'll confirm and make sure the message goes out to confirm that date and the topic.
Okay, yeah, so do that. And because we've got a whole list of topics that we want to talk about, but you can always reach out to me also if you've got other topics that you'd like to have us, be mulling over, or just type them in the chat real quick. I mean, we're always open to new topics. So We'll let you go. It's 6:24. We're out, 6 minutes early. Yay.
There was one hand up. I just want to
oh,
make sure
okay.
that Miss Hatcher, was your hand up? Did you have something you wanted to say, or was that by accident? Okay, maybe it was an accident.
Okay, yeah, I always forget to unraise my hand. So, all righty then. Well, then, thank you so much. You all have a good evening and have a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday with your family and your friends. Relax and come back, to finish this out strong in December.
Thanks.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. 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 Bye-bye.